Hello, and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 25 February. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering Morocco has broken up an Islamic State cell, South Korea's Yoon is facing his final impeachment hearing, and Doctors Without Borders has halted their operations in Sudan. So firstly, Morocco's counter-terrorism agency has recently disclosed the thwarting of a major terrorist plot by a group affiliated with the Islamic State in the Sahel region, just south of the Sahara Desert. The agency uncovered a 12-member terror cell that was reportedly on the verge of executing an imminent, dangerous terrorist plot, signaling a growing threat and an ambitious extremist group in the region. The plot specifics were not fully disclosed, but it was revealed that the cell intended to detonate bombs remotely. This action highlights the continued effort by terrorist organizations to expand their areas of influence in places such as Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Morocco. During raids across various Moroccan cities, authorities seized significant amounts of weaponry and explosives, including materials for making nail bombs and dynamite, as well as rifles and handguns. Visuals from the raids showed large caches of weapons, ISIS flags, and considerable sums of money, underscoring the serious nature of this threat. The suspects arrested in 9 different cities and ranged from ages of 18 to 40 were said to have been radicalized online and operating under the direction of a Libyan Islamic State leader. The head of Morocco's Central Bureau for Judicial Investigations emphasized at a press conference that the connections between the terror groups and criminal networks pose a significant risk not only to Morocco but also to Europe, noting a trend of ISIS African branches to internationalize their activities. So what? This is one of the largest plots that has publicly been disrupted in some time, and likely shows the growing capabilities of the Islamic State in North Africa, following the defeat of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. As stated in the article, while the direct threat of this group was to Morocco, it is likely that a group of this size also poses a threat to Spain and wider Europe, due to their ability to smuggle terrorists across the channel into Europe. Additionally, due to this threat, it is possible that Morocco had intelligence support from other EU countries. And next, South Korea's Constitutional Court is on the brink of concluding the impeachment trial of the ousted president Yoon Suk-yeol, who faces charges over controversial attempt to declare martial law in December of last year. In this final hearing, scheduled for 2 p.m. local time today, will feature closing statements both from Yoon's defense lawyer and the Parliament's Judiciary Committee head. The defense advocating for Yoon has argued that the former president was merely exercising his constitutional powers and referenced a US Supreme Court decision relating to Donald Trump's immunity in similar circumstances. The comparison was used to bolster the argument that Yoon's actions should be shielded under his core constitutional powers. As the trial wraps up, the implications for Yoon are significant. If the court decides in favor of impeachment, it will confirm his removal from office, cutting short his 5-year term. A decision is expected by mid-March, and if impeached, South Korea will hold presidential elections within 60 days. Concurrently, Yoon faces a criminal trial over charges of insurrection related to the same martial law declaration, marking him as the first sitting South Korean president to be tried in a criminal case. His defense maintains that Yoon never intended to fully enforce military rule, but was instead signaling concern over parliamentary overreach. Despite his arguments and the claim that no physical harm resulted due to his actions, the parliament contends that his judgments were flawed and he could potentially repeat his actions. So what? This will be an interesting case for the future of South Korea. However, it seems unlikely to have a significant political effect unless he is found innocent. It is very positive to see that the country has a robust democratic system and it can endure such a turbulent time. It also highlights the checks and balances within the country's system that can stop it from becoming a one-party dictatorship. It seems likely that Yoon will be found guilty of at least one of these charges, and it will lead to new elections, letting the country continue on as normal. And lastly, Doctors Without Borders has made a difficult decision to suspend its operation in Sudan's largest displacement camp, Zamzam, located in North Darfur, due to escalating violence. The camp is currently home to over 500,000 people, as per the UN estimates. Recent intense clashes between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Force, which began on February 11th, have led to significant instability in the area, including accusations against both parties of the shelling of healthcare facilities and residential zones, and also to using starvation as a warfare strategy. As the violence has surged, Doctors Without Borders Field Hospital in Zamzam, initially set up to combat malnutrition, was overwhelmed with 139 wounded individuals in 3 weeks, mostly due to shrapnel and gunshot wounds. The worsening security situation has severely impacted the ability for Doctors Without Borders to operate safely, leading to the suspension announcement. The head of the mission in Sudan highlighted the heartbreaking nature of this decision, driven by a lack of the minimal security considerations necessary for their continued presence. The violence has not only caused direct harm, but also impeded the safe transportation of patients to the nearest trauma-capable facility, with 2 Doctors Without Borders ambulances being shot in recent months. This suspension follows the recent halt of Doctors Without Borders at a key hospital in the Sudanese capital, signalling a deepening humanitarian crisis in the country. So what? While this is devastating news for the people that receive aid from the group, it is an understandable decision. One thing I have mentioned several times on this podcast is that security is the basis for aid, and without it, aid is likely to be ineffective. Similarly, a person cannot help others if they are injured themselves. While not a solution, it is unlikely much help can be provided by Doctors Without Borders until the government forces push back or defeat the Rapid Support Force, something that seems unlikely to happen in the short term. This conflict needs to be addressed in the UN, and soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing it with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, check out one of our courses in the description below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host Daniel, and I'll see you next time.